I'm Kevin Warden, Executive Director of Two Rivers Habitat for Humanity, and I'm joined today by April Suter with Family Service of Rochester. Thanks for being with us, April.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, part of what we want to do with this HabitChat platform is not just talk about habitat and not just talk about a house, but talk more about how having a bigger house isn't just about having more room or a bigger lawn. But when you have a decent and affordable, safe and healthy home, everything else in life gets better too. Kids' grades go up, job prospects improve for mom and dad, health improves. So when you get away from conditions that make a home less than ideal, everything in life gets better. So we know it's not just really about the house. And we also didn't want to use this HabitChat platform just to talk about ourselves, but to also highlight some of the great work going on throughout the Rochester community and surrounding counties to make our region and to make southern and southeast Minnesota a better place. Now, just like we talk about housing cutting across a lot of areas, improving health, education, career, things like that, Family Service takes that holistic view too, and they're involved in so many areas of life, knowing that they come together. So we've had the privilege of doing what I think a lot more nonprofits can and should do, which is to collaborate and to work together. But I'm excited for April to talk a little more firsthand about Family Service Rochester and some of the things that you're working on right now. So April, do you want to, how are things at Family Service Rochester, and what are some of your most expansive programs that you're working on right now?
Well, things have not slowed down at all, COVID or no COVID.
Of course.
We've been going full bore. And one of the things that we've seen on the rise throughout COVID is the effect that it has on people's mental health. Mm-hmm. It's really tough on children to be working or schooling from home day after month. And, you know, we're in our second school year. Mm-hmm. That takes its toll on young people. You know, we humans are societal people. We're not just hermits. And so that interaction and socialization for people is so important. We hear a lot about older people being isolated, and we've worked to create platforms for seniors to be able to interact with each other, make new friends from other communities that they don't even live with.
Wow.
And that's been really positive. Some of the folks who have been involved in some of our book clubs and chats and stuff have said, we're going to plan a trip together. And our first one, when this crap is over, is we're going to go to lunch. And so they're getting together from several communities, people that they met through some of our online pieces. We also know that it cuts across families. If you're all cooped up, there's a lot more tension in families. So mental health has really been in the forefront of the work, and helping families stay as healthy, productive family units, even though COVID is saying you need to stay away from each other. And we've also started a 21st Century Learning Center over in the Meadow Park neighborhood in partnership with the Rochester Public Schools. That part of the city has children whose homes don't always have internet connections and the technology that they need, so their progress in school tends to suffer from that. So we've been doing quite a bit of work to help maintain the students' grades and their performance in school, and so it's been very busy.
Yeah, it sounds like, but it sounds like you say Family Service Rochester, you haven't missed a beat. You've kept going at it and modified, but kept going.
Right.
So if I'm interested in this 21st Century Learning Center because I'm not familiar with it, or I hadn't heard of it before you mentioned it. If a child walks in there, is it more of like an in-person coaching and tutoring, or what happens when you enter the Learning Center?
Right, so we are using an in-person model, and
Sure.
we have some tutors, paid tutors, and some volunteers. That part of the time is spent on homework help
Okay.
and
Sure.
assignments and things that they're just maybe needing some little help or struggling with from school. So a lot of math and reading and social studies and that sort of thing. And then we have other activities. So we have some arts. Sometimes it's just games. There's a lot of movement.
Yeah, sure.
And we will be moving outside once the weather's a little bit warmer and the ground is drier, and we can be starting up some soccer and some other things outside, because we know that young people have been missing a lot of that physical activity. So
Yes.
it's designed to help young people with their grades, and to also have some activities and some things that are just fun and engaging.
Okay. Sounds like it's very much a whole person approach.
Correct.
It's not just academic.
No.
Kids can be right brain, left brain, physical activity, everything about it.
Right.
So it sounds like you're working across the entire age spectrum, from young children all the way up through older Americans, looking at the family unit, looking at people individually, and everything in between.
Yes, and taking the approach that everybody has assets and brings something to the party, and building on those. So we look at a strength-based model and
Sure.
build from there, whether it's working directly with the children, working with the family unit as a whole. We have a Dad's Project that helps dads learn how to be stronger and better dads.
Okay.
And if they've had a break with their children, how to mend that, and to be a positive parent for them. Because we know that children do better with their parents' involvement
Sure.
in their lives.
All right. Even if the parents aren't together anymore, if they are, great, but if they aren't, either way, that both parents are engaged and involved
In their
with their
children's
kids. And especially, I
Exactly.
don't want to, I know it's my job. Sometimes I think we men have more that tendency to be lone rangers and not ask for help, even though we don't know what to do, and we may be desperately screaming for it on the inside. There's a tendency to say, oh, it's fine, I'm good, when the reality is anything but that. But it sounds like you're creating a safe space for that to heal, for that to mend, and for the betterment of the whole family unit.
And for dads to learn from each other. So dads are mentoring each other, and we also have an employment aspect to our Father Project. So if they need to build more skills for better employment and help make connections with employers, if their housing is not very stable, we work with them to stabilize that, because we know that when those dads and those families have stable housing,
Yeah.
everything else improves. And so I think we kind of come full circle with Habitat.
We really do.
Because if you're homeless, you probably don't have a place to cook, which means you're relying more on fast food and less healthy foods, because you can't cook and prepare. You don't have a refrigerator to store things. Expenses are higher. Children don't know what tomorrow is going to bring,
Sure.
and they need that stability just as much as the parents do. And so we look at the families as a whole as well, very similar to Habitat.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It feels that we've had this interesting dichotomy for the past year, where we can't have contact, or any substantive contact really, with a lot of the people that we'd like to, friends, colleagues, extended family. But then there's this forced contact, that's probably not the best way to put it, but under the same roof with your nuclear family, be it healthy, whatever level of functionality that family has. So it sounds like you're with your family programs and your family counseling that you're looking at that piece of it too, to look at,
Right.
I mean, not just the shelter, but the people in the shelter as well.
Correct.
Right, wow.
Yes.
All right, that's me. How about a lot of your traditional programs like Meals on Wheels, things
Yes.
like that? Have you been able to continue that during this time frame?
Absolutely. And we had some volunteers who stepped away because they had some underlying health concerns or issues and they didn't want to get exposed out in the community to COVID. We had many that stepped forward and said, you know, I'm on furlough, I want to be productive, I want to help out.
Right.
Others, we've had students saying, I've got time during my school day because
Sure.
this is when I'm in class and this is when I'm not. Meals on Wheels last year doubled.
Oh my goodness.
We doubled. And
Wow.
January and February this year, we're still double what we did last year in January and February. Lots of people feeling that that's the way to stay safe and have nutritious meals.
Sure.
We also started what we call FSR Fresh, where we have
Okay.
volunteers who deliver fresh food boxes once a week to people's homes. And if they're elderly, disabled, or they're quarantining, they just pay a delivery fee, but the food is free. And we started this with Channel 1.
Wow.
So it's fresh fruits and vegetables,
Sure.
meat, dairy, bakery, and it's called FSR Fresh because most of the food is fresh
Okay.
and it's not processed or canned, and so people are able to access that. So we have hundreds of people that are getting FSR Fresh as well.
Wow.
And that has provided people a way to bridge financially.
Sure.
You know, they may have lost their jobs, or, you know, they're able to cook, but they don't want to go out. So
Sure.
it has really served a niche. We've also helped some of the homeless programs with food, so that because they're preparing at the Civic Center and the Landing, and so there's food going to organizations and places that are also helping people who have less stable lives.
Sure. Again, working together with even more nonprofits, all seeing we're not one another aren't the competitor. The competitor is poverty. The competitor is homelessness. That's what we're fighting against. And we're locking elbows and coming together, moving forward to do that.
Yes. And one of our principles is partnering, whether it's partnering with families,
Sure.
partnering with organizations, partnering with government, because we know we can't do it alone.
Yes.
And what the result of doing things together is more than any one of us could do individually.
Absolutely.
Similar to the projects that we've been doing with HabitChat.
Yes, yes. So for memory's sake, if those of you who followed this space last fall recall that we worked together, Family Service Rochester and Two Rivers Habitat for Humanity, we built a deck and ramp for a disabled Navy veteran. This was in Byron. So it involved Lions Clubs from Caston Manorville and Byron and the Home Depot Foundation, Family Service Rochester, Two Rivers Habitat. So it was a fantastic collaboration of us coming together.
Right, Meals on Wheels of America.
Meals on Wheels
Yep.
of America, thank you. And we've also worked together there was a 79-year-old woman, may she rest in peace, no longer with us, but she had her driveway, she was shoveling her driveway by hand at age 79 because this is what you do when you're living on $15,000 a year. And the shovel was, when she'd do it, the shovel would jam up into her ribs when it would hit a crack in the driveway that she couldn't see. So we came together and we got her a new asphalt driveway, and that improved the quality of her life for her final years.
Right.
So
We've
that
done
was
we roofed a couple of places.
we did.
So we've, over the last several years, we've had quite a few great projects together.
We have, and I'm thinking of the first roof we did for the I won't mention the family member's name, but we were in his home. This is somebody who desperately needed a roof. It became apparent that if he didn't get a new roof soon, he wasn't going to have a new house. And everybody has a life story that is valuable and unique, and I'm sure this individual does too. But you shared with me that this person had some trust issues. And I'm sure there's probably life experiences that have given him some very good reasons for having trust issues, and he was a little reluctant. But you worked with him, we worked with him, he's got a new roof. He comes walking in the store to make his monthly payment for that portion of the roof expense. He generally pays in cash. It's a fairly small amount of money. Mm-hmm. And he comes in and it's old friend reunion time. He sits and chats with whoever's in the office. He'll talk with me. I generally put the rest of my day on hold for 15, 20 minutes or so, and we just catch up. So it's like he's got a new roof, but something in him has changed too.
And so one of the big differences for him is he's developed some connections and some what he would call friends.
Great.
He was very isolated prior to that. And through this project, which is what now, probably 4 years ago,
Sure, okay.
He developed enough trust to feel comfortable to come out of his house, for one.
No small feat there, though it sounds trivial.
And to come here and then stay and chat because you're his people.
Sure, yes. And he talks about waiting for his bus, and sometimes we offer him a ride and things like that, but it's certainly, no, he's welcome to...
It's those relationships.
Yeah. Sure.
It's not just putting up the walls and putting the roof on. It's the relationships that also last a lifetime.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. We're all on a first-name basis with him, with all of us, and it's just it's a lot of fun. We look forward to it.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Now, April, if I can turn the spotlight on you now, your title is Director of Innovation and Collaboration. Yes. And just if for anyone who's been watching the past 10 minutes or so here, is that we've talked about nothing but for innovation and collaboration. How did you get into this work here? One of the things I've always maybe just tell us how you got into this work here at Family Service and in helping people in general and dedicating your life to that.
Well, I would say now, back in another lifetime, I was a paramedic, and so I did that kind of work for a while, and that's all about helping people. And I moved to Montana.
Okay.
And got a job with a community action program. Mm-hmm. And I was their planner and grant writer and developer. I've always had an entrepreneurial bent.
Okay.
And so it fit right in with the community action folks there, and I covered 1/3 of Montana and got to know lots of people, and I used to be pretty shy. And I
can't picture that.
I know, and my mother, I'd have to make a phone call, and my mother would say, "You make it." I'm, no, right. You do it, I'm shy.
Sure.
So I sort of was forced to overcome that.
Right. All right.
And when I came to Rochester, I started up the Job Training Center, and that was working with immigrants and refugees and dislocated workers and people who wanted to get more skills to be able to move up the employment ladder. And so it was, my model was, we're going to work with the employers who have the job.
Okay.
They know what they're looking for. So we got them involved in the training, and they started just hiring people right out of our classes.
Wow.
Because they said, well, we've trained them.
You asked them what they wanted. They told you.
We know.
You're giving that to individuals.
And they've been working with them for 3 months. It's kind of like an internship, right? You kind of know what your interns are going to be like.
Sure.
And so they started hiring people right out of our classes. So I built all of these relationships across nonprofits, across the business community. And at one point, when Brad Lorbach was the executive director at Family Service Rochester, I always say, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And and he wanted more partnerships, and he wanted the organization to innovate and kind of look at where are there gaps in the community that we can help fill. And so it's just been a great ride with community and businesses and nonprofits and the government sector. I mean, everybody in this community in particular, I think, kind of gets that.
Yes.
That we can't really do the best alone. And
so
you know, my tenure at Family Service Rochester has seen the growth of all sorts of services and the introduction of some new ones. And, you know, COVID provided some opportunity. Not that I would have wished it on the world.
Of course.
But it not only forced us to do some things differently, it also gave us the opportunity to try some things because we couldn't do some of what we were doing.
Sure.
And so how else can we do this? And who else can we partner with? And who wants to help with that work? And so there's been lots and lots of people who have stepped forward and said, I want to be a part of it.
Wow.
And so it's helped us grow and look through some different lenses, which can always be helpful when, you know, we all sometimes tend to get stuck in our ruts. And
absolutely,
the pandemic has forced us out of some of those ruts and to look at things differently and to say, well, what else?
What are you going to do? Yeah, the old ways, it picks us up by our heels and sort of shakes us and forces us to get back to our founding principles and think anew about how we're going to achieve them. Because
if you look at it, we couldn't just sit around and not do anything with families or with children. We couldn't say, well, you just can't be in school. Learning has to stop. We couldn't just say to older adults, you're just going to have to stay locked up in your houses or your apartments or your assisted living, because we're still living. And so how do we keep the quality?
Yes.
And
such a
you know,
good point.
we've had people having to learn lots of new skills, people who thought, I'm never going to touch an iPad.
Right.
And now they're on there connecting with people and participating in classes. We've got a St. Patrick's Day party coming up on the 17th, and it's virtual, but there's all sorts of things that people are going to get to do, and so we can't stop having fun.
No, we're
right?
Like
just
you
because
said,
we have to be minding our social distancing and stuff, we can still have some fun.
Absolutely. Like you say, I think your first comment was so apt. We're still living, and that must keep going. That must continue.
You know, as Elton John says, you know, I'm still standing after all these years, right? Or all these months of COVID, right?
Yes. Here we are. We're coming through it. Things won't be quite. We're gonna never take some things for granted that perhaps we have. Not count on some things that we've always counted on, but here we are. We're all moving forward. Hence the studio. Hence you and our time together and everything like that. So. Can I ask, when did you come to Rochester? What year was that? How long have you been involved here in this region?
1992. I finished graduate school in Montana and landed here.
Wow. All right. And you said, I was taken to your comment of covering a third of Montana. Montana's a very large place.
State.
Yes, yeah, and a third of that is still pretty darn large, and that's a very rural state.
149,000 square miles, 17 counties.
My goodness.
Yes.
Wow. All right. So a bit of a change coming to Rochester. I mean, we're not the Twin Cities, but we're not that either.
Right.
So you've had I'm sure you've seen a lot of change in the community over those years too, even pre-COVID.
Right.
So what are some of the changes you've seen in Olmsted County and in the other counties that you serve?
Well, certainly growth in population, and a decrease in some of the ruralness.
Yeah.
And it's brought more amenities, and it's brought a great mix of people and cultures and entertainment and opportunities to know people. I've traveled to 6 of the 7 continents, and so I really appreciate the variety of people that we have in the community now that we haven't. The languages and that kind of richness. I think the business community has changed a lot.
Okay.
There's, we had a lot of manufacturing, and we sort of went another route, but manufacturing still stays. So we've seen ups and downs with different types of industry here. The educational opportunities have certainly grown with Winona State having a campus here, and UMR and some of the other institutions that are doing graduate and post-high school options in the community. We've had some increase in crime. I think some of that is exaggerated, I think. It tends to be a good media draw. I don't feel any less safe. I'm a biker, so I'm riding my bike all over. I still walk all over the community and run and am out. So I don't feel personally like there's a decrease in safety just because we've grown.
That's a positive. That's a good thing. So we're not your fathers or grandfathers or mothers or grandmothers, Rochester, Olmsted County anymore.
No, we're not.
Yeah, it's a different community, and we're not going back. So, April, this has been fantastic. It's been such a privilege to learn more about Family Service Rochester, and just to talk with you on and off camera about how we can continue to work together toward our shared mission as we focus through the lens of shelter, and as you focus through the lens of life, and we take that strengths-based approach where we come together and build something that neither Two Rivers Habitat for Humanity nor Family Service Rochester could do on their own. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Family Service Rochester while we're together here, or anything else you'd want viewers of HabitChat to know?
Well, some people think that there's a really long waiting list to get mental health services, and I want to reassure people that if they need to see somebody for mental health issues, they can get a hold of us at Family Service Rochester, and we've got capacity to help them, that they don't need to wait, and that that challenges with mental health is like challenges with physical health, right? We go see a doctor, we go see somebody, and that you're taking care of yourself when you take care of your physical health and your mental health. So we don't want people to feel that there's anything wrong with getting some help when you need it.
Great point. Such a good point. It's all health. Physical health, mental health, they're all health issues, and we all need to take care of ourselves so we can take care of those in our lives.
Right.
April Suter, Director of Innovation and Collaboration with Family Service Rochester, longtime friend and partner of myself in this organization. April, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on HabitChat. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.